The wind howled over the palace of Pella. Thunder cracked in the heavens, and the rain lashed against the marble walls. On this storm-ridden night in 356 BCE, a child was born, one who would change the course of history forever. Some whispered that the gods themselves heralded his arrival. He ruled an empire stretching across 3 continents, achieving the unimaginable at a young age. Who was this child? And how did he manage to bring the Hellenistic world to its knees? This is the story of Alexander the Great, King of Macedonia. In the year 356 BCE, on July 21st, under a stormy sky in the ancient kingdom of Macedonia, a child was born, one who would change the course of history. His name was Alexander. From the moment of his birth, omens foretold his destiny. Alexander was born to King Philip II of Macedonia and Queen Olympias, a woman of fierce ambition and an unshakable belief in her son's divine purpose. His mother, Olympias, was a princess from neighboring Epirus, and her family claimed descent from Hercules. This only strengthened the belief that he was the son of Zeus himself. His father, King Philip II, saw in him the future of a kingdom destined for greatness. But no one could have imagined just how far this young prince would go. Philip was a warrior king, a master tactician, a military leader who had transformed Macedonia into a formidable power. From him, Alexander inherited military genius. From Olympias, he gained an unshakable belief that he was no mere mortal, but the son of the gods. Alexander's early life was marked by rigorous education. His tutors included Leonidas of Epirus, who taught him combat skills, and Lysimachus of Acarnania, who instructed him in literature and music. Then, at the age of 13, his education was entrusted to Aristotle, one of the greatest minds of the ancient world. Under Aristotle's guidance, Alexander studied philosophy, science, medicine, but above all, he studied war and the art of strategy. He devoured Homer's Iliad, carrying a copy with him everywhere he went. It was more than a story to him. It was a blueprint for greatness. He learned the arts of diplomacy and governance. Even as a boy, Alexander was always restless. He believed in destiny, and that destiny was written in blood and steel. At just 12, Alexander tamed the mighty Bucephalus, a horse no man could ride. This would be the horse which would eventually carry him into battle for years to come. He saw Bucephalus not as a beast to be broken, but as a creature to be understood. This was the mark of a leader. Impressed by his son's courage, his father, Philip II, watched in awe and declared, "My boy, you must find a kingdom big enough for your ambitions. Macedonia is too small for you." At 18, Alexander rode into his first great battle, fighting alongside his father. It was here, at Chaeronea, that he proved himself a warrior. At Chaeronea in 338 BCE, Alexander faced the combined forces of the Athenian and Theban armies. With his father's elite cavalry at his side, he outmaneuvered the enemy and secured a decisive victory. This was Alexander's first major victory, and that event solidified his reputation as a brilliant tactician and a force to be reckoned with. It was also a turning point for Macedonia, as King Philip II had united the Greek city-states under his rule, paving the way for Alexander's future conquests. He commanded the companion cavalry, striking the decisive blow that crushed the sacred band of Thebes, an elite Greek fighting force. His father was proud of his son, and also took notice of Alexander's ambition. However, fate was ruthless, and as King Philip II stood at the height of his power, tragedy struck. In 336 BCE, he was assassinated by one of his bodyguards. Some whispered of a conspiracy involving Olympias, his queen, and others pointed to political rivals. But whatever the truth was, one thing was clear. Alexander was to succeed him as king at the age of 20. The rise of the conqueror, 335 BCE. Alexander's first act as king was to secure his domain by eliminating potential rivals. This included his cousin Amyntas. For him, mere kingship was never the goal. What he sought was an empire, but after his ascension to power, some were doubtful of his rule. In 335 BCE, Thebes, being one of those, rebelled against Alexander. His response to this was swift and brutal. He razed the entire city to the ground, leaving only ruins and a chilling message to all of Greece. Defiance would not be tolerated. Over 6,000 were slaughtered, and the rest were sold into slavery. The Greek world understood that Alexander was not to be challenged. Now, with Greece under his heel, he turned his attention to the east. He set his gaze on the Persian Empire. One of the greatest empires the world had ever seen stood in defiance to him. In 334 BCE, at the river Granicus, Alexander faced the Persian satraps for the first time, and against overwhelming odds, he led a bold charge across the river, shattering the enemy lines. The campaign was led by him personally, and although he nearly died in the battle, his decisive victory opened Asia Minor to his conquest. His victory marked the beginning of his legendary campaign, and it was also a statement. Alexander was not just a king, he was a conqueror. The Battle of Issus, in 333 BCE, Alexander came face to face with the Persian king, Darius III. And despite being outnumbered, Alexander's tactics proved superior. The battle was so fierce that it caused Darius to flee, leaving behind his family. And although Alexander seized his family, he treated them with honor. His victory over King Darius III of Persia gave him control over southern Asia Minor. But with all these, he knew the war was far from over. It was only the beginning. He decided that to truly defeat Persia, he would have to strike at its heart. He began making his advances to the island city of Tyre. This city was a fortress deemed impenetrable, having resisted Alexander for 7 months. Alexander laid a siege against Tyre in 332 BCE. He was relentless in his pursuit to conquer the city, and being a tactile leader, he decided to build a causeway across the sea, defying nature itself. He stormed the city and left it in ruins. This was a testament to his determination and his ruthlessness. With Tyre fallen, which was a major commercial center, the path to Egypt was laid open. Then came the defining battle at Gaugamela in 331 BCE. Alexander faced Darius one final time. The Persian king commanded an army of nearly 250,000 men. Outnumbered and surrounded, Alexander saw an opportunity where others saw doom. With unmatched precision, he led his cavalry straight into the heart of the Persian army and crushed their forces. Darius fled, and with him, the Persian Empire crumbled. Alexander now declared himself King of Kings. After his victory at Gaugamela, his forces marched deeper into Persia with an intent to pursue after Darius. But alas, he was found dead, murdered by his own men. Alexander decided to declare vengeance on the assassins of King Darius by hunting them down. Now, with Darius gone, he took control of the Persian throne and empire, not as a conqueror, but as a ruler embracing Persian customs. This was the first sign that Alexander sought more than conquest. He sought unity. In the following events after conquering Persia, in 332 BCE, Alexander was welcomed into Egypt as a liberator, and he went on and founded the city of Alexandria, a city destined to outlive him and serve as a beacon of learning that would endure for centuries. He was also hailed as the son of Amun-Ra, the supreme Egyptian god of the sun and air. However, with all these accomplishments, his hunger for conquest was insatiable, and his ambition burned all the more. He decided to turn his gaze east once more, toward the unknown lands of India. In 326 BCE, On getting to India, Alexander faced his greatest challenge yet, King Porus of Paurava and his war elephants. This was a fierce battle of legends, but as fate would have it, Alexander emerged victorious once again, and this marked the easternmost extent of his empire. But despite his victory, Alexander's exhausted troops refused to march further east. They had become wary of all the battles and had seen enough. Hence, the road to further conquest ended there. And for the first time, Alexander was forced to turn back. It was a bitter moment for a man who had never known defeat. This battle was known as the Battle of the Hydaspes. In 325 BCE, Alexander and his men made their return to Babylon. However, it was a grueling, brutal and deadly march through the Gedrosian desert, and thousands of his soldiers perished. Then came the final blow. In 324 BCE, Hephaestion, his closest companion and truest friend, died suddenly, leaving Alexander completely devastated. This journey back was marked by tragedy. Some say Alexander never recovered. His grief was so profound that he declared mourning throughout the empire. Alexander, though victorious in all his conquest, was mortal after all. In June 323 BCE, at just 32 years old, Alexander himself fell ill. It is said that a fever consumed him. Some say it was poison. Others blame a disease, but no one knows. As he lay dying, his generals asked, "To whom do you leave your empire?" His final words remain a mystery. To the strongest. And with that, the world's greatest conqueror was gone. With no clear heir or anyone to succeed him, Alexander's empire was torn apart by his generals, who fought for power, leaving his empire fractured. But his legacy endured. The Hellenistic world he created, spread across the lands he conquered, shaped art, science and philosophy across 3 continents for centuries. Alexander sought to unite the world, and in a way, he succeeded. Was Alexander a visionary or a tyrant, a hero or a destroyer? Perhaps he was all of them. But in the annals of history, one truth remains. He was Alexander the Great, and his name will never be forgotten. In the end, perhaps he was a man who sought eternity, and found it, not in an empire, but in history. If you enjoyed this journey through the life of Alexander the Great, don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe to our channel for more epic tales from history. Until next time, stay curious.